Who are some hidden gems for the Washington Wizards if they indeed trade back into the lottery or trade back from the number 2 overall pick? We're going to talk about it next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again, and I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So we're going to look at 3 hidden gems in the NBA draft that if the Wizards trade back for the number 2 overall pick or trade back into the lottery, these 3 guys are 3 players that I think we should definitely consider drafting to come to Washington. So we're going to start with the first guy on the list, Ron Holland. Now, looking at Ron Holland, he is 6'7", 206 pounds, and he played for the G League Ignite. Looking at his stats real quick, scoring 19.5 points a game, 6.7 rebounds a game, 2.9 assists, while shooting 46% from the field, but 24% from 3. So looking at the numbers before we get into the pros and cons, obviously, 19.5 points per game, so he can definitely score. 6.7 rebounds a game is definitely a good number for me because he's a guy at 6'7", 206. He can get in the paint and definitely battle for rebounds. I mean, almost averaging 7 rebounds a game, so it's definitely a good sign to me. 2.9 assists, not the best numbers, but he can definitely at times get other people involved. And obviously his field goal percentage, if you look at the NBA average, is around 45%. 46%, he's right around the league average. But looking at the 3-point percentage, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but obviously that is a red flag, shooting 24% from the 3-point percentage. So looking at some of his pros, number one, if you look at Ron Holland, man, his motor, he has a high motor. I mean, he's athletic. He's a guy who flourishes in transition. I mean, this guy, his motor is a really big proponent of his game, man, because he can move. And if you look at it, as setting up an offense where you really want to push the pace and really beat teams on transition, such as what the Wizards are trying to do, I think he would really do well in transition and really catching defenses off balance, man, and attacking the basket in transition. That is his bread and butter. So his high motor is something I really like from Ron Holland. Another pro that I like is defensive versatility. That's right. He's a guy who's athletic on the offensive side, but he can definitely defend multiple positions, man. He's definitely a dog. A defender's gonna get in your face. Causes turnovers. He is very versatile. And if you look at our roster, looking at our 2 best defenders in Deni Avdija and Bilal Coulibaly, what is the hallmarks to their defensive prowess? Versatility, their ability to defend 1 through 5. I think, and so if you had another guy like a Ron Holland, man, who defensively is very versatile, and you throw him into the mix with a team that has Deni Avdija and Bilal Coulibaly, and Corey Kispert, where they can play and defend multiple positions, whether it's 2 guard, the wing, or the power forward, and even at times small ball 5 and point forward at the 1. So versatility is definitely a big plus for Ron Holland, man. Number 3 pro, money and transition again, and that kind of goes from the first pro motor, but his transition game is money, man. This guy attacks in transition, his speed. I mean, I think that with a point guard like Jordan Poole or whoever, ends up being the point guard, which we're going to get into that later about, but all arrows are pointing to Jordan Poole. So, looking at the capabilities of his offense, considering we were number 1 in pace. If you had Jordan Poole at the point pushing the pace, man, this is a guy who's going to eat on transition, man. So that is a really big pro for Ron Holland. And number 4, driving and slashing to the basket, man. Reminiscent of Corey Kispert. I mean, this guy can really slash to the basket. Definitely wide open driving to the basket. I mean, I love what I see from slashing in his driving game, man. He's definitely a guy who's going to attack the basket. He's definitely going to slash to the basket and definitely get active in the paint as far as scoring. So, those are my pros for Ron Holland. Again, his high motor, money in transition, defensive versatility, and his driving and slashing ability. So let's get into the cons, because where every pro, there is a con. So looking at his cons, it's pretty obvious. 3-point percentage. I mean, his 3-point shot it does show signs that it can get better. Good. He does have good form. I mean, I think just repetition, in the off season and definitely in training camp, man, would definitely help the kid out. Repetition. I think that his shot can be fixed, but right now that is probably his biggest red flag is his 3-point shot, because he shot 24%. So like a lot of players in this draft and a lot of players that we've gone over already, their shots are a work in progress, but if you look at the shot forms, a lot of these guys that we've talked about already, and a few guys that we're going to talk about in the future, they're not broken. They definitely can be fixed, and that's where coaching comes in. And if you look at the coaching staff that we have in DC, we're still waiting on an announcement for head coach, but Brian Keith, interim head coach, and David Vanderpool backing him up, man. They are not only known for scouting and development side, but also working on the mechanics. You definitely see this coaching staff trying to work with Johnny Davis, even though his shot's gone through 6 or 7 different forms. But I think they're going to be able to coach whoever it is, especially Ron Holland. They're going to be able to coach him up and get his shot right, in my opinion, because his shot's not broken. I think he just needs repetition, and I think he'll be all right. So, Ron Holland is a very intriguing prospect, everybody. He's 6'7", is 206 pounds, again, coming out of the G League Ignite. There has been really good prospects coming out of the G League Ignite. If you look at the Thompson twins now, obviously Scoot Henderson, he's had his struggles this year in the NBA, but he obviously has a lot of potential and a lot of upside. And if you look at Matab Bazilisman, another guy coming out of the G League Ignite, there's some talent coming out of G League Ignite. Now, obviously, they are not going to be a thing anymore after this year. The NBA went ahead and canceled the program. But I think that there has been talent to come out of the G League Ignite, man. There's some pros and cons to the G League Ignite and their level of competition, which I want those people, the level of competition does scare you to a certain degree, as opposed to college players who play against, polished college programs. The G League Ignite, the level of competition at times can be, a little minimal, in my opinion. So that's another red flag. But I think Ron Holland, man, with his athleticism, again, his pros definitely outweigh his cons. His 3-point shot, I think, is something that's going to be developed in time. His motor and his ability to attack and transition, his defensive versatility, to me, is the biggest key to Ron Holland, because if you look at the identity of the Washington Wizards, man, we're trying to get better with defense, especially team defense, because the last couple of years, man, we have failed in every aspect of defense, whether it's in perimeter defense, whether it's paint defense, whether it's transition defense, whether it's communication on the defensive side, whether it's closing out the shooters, and so many different factors of defense where we failed. And yes, we got better under interim head coach Brian Keith, but we need more defenders. Right now, our 2 best defenders are Deni Avdia and Bilal Coulibaly, and we definitely need more dogs. We need more people who can defend at a high level in DC, in my opinion, to actually add to the overall identity or the defensive identity of the Washington Wizards. So again, I'm very intrigued by Ron Holland. His size, his motor, and his overall makeup really impresses me, man. So we're going to take a look at another really good player out of NCAA, Dalton Knecht. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports ESPN on your TV all day long? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So let's get into the next candidate today. And I actually really have started really studying this kid as of lately, man, and I've come away very, very impressed, because I will admit that he wasn't high on my list from the get, but he is definitely climbing up my board, man. And like I said, if we plan on trading back into the lottery, or if there's a scenario where we trade back for the number 2, where I see the more likely scenario for the Wizards I see is trading back into the lottery, as opposed to not taking advantage of the second overall pick and trading back. I see us trading back into the lottery and not back from 2. So let's take a look at Dalton Knecht, 6'6", 213 wing out of Tennessee. Looking at his points per game, 21.7 points a game. So I'm trying to tell you, man, he's a baller. He's a dog. Rebounds per game, about 4.9, 1.8 assists per game. Now his field goal percentage was 45.8%, and his 3-point percentage was 39.7%. So, like I said, I wasn't very high on him because I don't watch a lot of Tennessee basketball, even though they've had really good programs both in men's and women's basketball. But I've really starting to get into watching this kid play, man. I got to say, this kid can play. He's a dog. I mean, he's athletic. So let's go ahead and get into it, man. Looking at the pros real quick at Dalton. 3-point shooting, again, 39.7% at Tennessee. I mean, if you look at it, the conference he plays in, man, he played against really, really good competition. And he's played against a lot of guys that are in this class, man. And he shined. In my opinion, very good 3-point shooter. That is definitely a big con for a team like the Washington Wizards that need more shooters, need more shooters on the outside, need more guys who can definitely put the ball in the basket. Number 2, off-ball play. He thrives in off-ball. Moving out the ball. That's something you really don't see a lot in the NBA now, man. Especially in the ISO-heavy league. Off-ball play is something that, to me, and this is my personal opinion, but the best off-ball player that I've seen is Ray Allen. I mean, and there's other players, you look at Reggie Miller, but their ability to, or your ability to thrive without the ball in your hand and really can add to catching the defense off guard, man. And he thrives in off-ball play. Number 3, self-creation, creating his own shot and getting others involved. Man, he shined, in my opinion. He definitely has some athleticism, has a lot of athleticism to him, man. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But his ability to create his own shot and create shots for other men, I think is something that really, really looks good for a guy who, again, is at 6'6", 213 and is a wing. So you can't have enough people who can get other people involved, in my opinion. Number 4, vertical athleticism. He's got some ups, man. I'm trying to tell you. I mean, I challenge you guys to take a look at his highlight tape. I mean, he is driving through the lane, dunking on folk. He is athletic. He's got some ups to him, man. He can definitely attack the basket, and he can attack the basket aggressively and through contact. So, I mean, that is one thing that I really liked about this kid, man, because looking at his tape, I was really impressed by his ability to attack the basket and get to the free throw line, man. So, and again, with every pro, there is a con. So what is his con? His defensive impact. And while he's not like a scrub on the defensive side per se, he needs work. He definitely a lot, with speed, or not so much with speed with him, but with faster opponents can definitely get past him at times. And his lateral movement on defense is definitely something he needs to work on. So he's not broken defensively. He's shown signs that he can improve defensively. And he really, if I'm looking at a Wizards comp, I'm not really looking at a NBA comp right now, but if I'm going to compare him to a current Wizards player, it's going to be Corey Kispert. I mean, his offensive game is polished, but his defensive game, while it's not broken, it definitely needs to be fine-tuned. I think a lot that has to do with individual effort. So I think that he's shown that he has the effort and the work ethic to be a better defender. So again, if we end up getting him, he's not a guy who's broken defensively. He can defend. It's just he has areas that he can improve on defensively. So I like him. Like you said, I think that this kid can play some basketball, man. I mean, again, with the size 6'6", 213, man, he's got the body to be on the wing, man, to defend and score on the wing. And like I said, I like his offensive play set, man. I mean, or skill set rather. He can play. He can shoot the ball. And like I said, defensively, I kind of look at him the same way I look at Corey Kispert, right? He's got things to work on defensively, and I think that a lot of that has to do with individual effort. Definitely putting a lot more effort into his defensive side, but offensively, the kid can play. I mean, his athleticism, again, attacking the rim, creating his own shot, moving off ball, and shooting a 3-point shot, man, especially a 3-point shot with hands in his face. The kid's a dog. He's a baller, man. So I think he's definitely a kid that we should definitely consider looking at, man, in my opinion. So, again, looking at the last 2 people, I mean, these guys are hidden gems, in my opinion. These are guys who I think that can contribute in Washington, in my opinion, both Ron Holland and Dalton Knecht. So we're going to take a look at the last guy on the list, a kid out of Kentucky, Reed Sheppard, 6'3" guard out of University of Kentucky. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. So I've been a catalyst for this, in a society where, talking to somebody and talking to counseling at one point was taboo, but now it's not really the case now. I definitely recommend now that if you have good things going on, definitely consider talking to somebody, man, because right now you're starting to get a better, it's not taboo anymore. So definitely, is a tool that we have in society now that I definitely think that people should utilize, right? If you think about it, starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule, which is key because that's the biggest thing that keeps people from going to counseling, which is schedule, right? Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Again, that is a big thing of finding the right person to talk to. BetterHelp is definitely going to help you in that capacity. So get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, let's get into the last one, everybody. And the last person on the list, like I said, these three guys are hidden gems. If you indeed are intent on trading back into the lottery, I think these three guys can come in and really contribute. If not right away, definitely in the immediate future, in my opinion. So we're going to take a look at the last person on the list. Reed Sheppard, 6'3", guard out of the University of Kentucky, definitely playing with Rod Dillingham, somebody we already mentioned in the previous video. So let's take a look at Reed Sheppard real quick. Again, he is 6'3", 187 pounds out of the University of Kentucky. 12.5 points per game, 4.1 rebounds a game, 4.5 assists per game, while shooting 53.6% from the field and 52.1% from three. Lord have mercy. So looking at his pros real quick. I mean, obviously, what? 3-point shooter. I mean, he shot 52.1% from three. So, I mean, the kid could definitely shoot the ball at a high capacity. And that's my biggest impression with, as far as his game, man, his ability to shoot, man. I mean, he is a shooter. And again, we need more shooters in the 202. Number two, and I know you guys have heard this word a lot this season, efficiency. He is efficient. He takes good shots, takes high percentage shots. And that is definitely something we need in DC, man, because efficiency has definitely been something that we have dealt with all year long. And we need a highly efficient shooter, and Reed Sheppard fills that role. Number three, passing. His ability to pass, his vision, man. We need more shooters. We need more dogs, but we also need more guys who can get active as far as getting other people involved and utilizing their vision, man. And obviously with the point guards we had and Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, big catalysts in vision and setting people up. And players like Denny Avia, where his vision is a secondary ball handler, has been in display this year. But looking at Reed Sheppard, man, I definitely think we can add another playmaker, man, another guy who can definitely utilize his vision and get other people involved. And Reed Sheppard, again, checks that box. And number four, defensive playmaking. Yes, his defensive playmaking. He's very active on the defensive side of the ball. Very active hands, very active in stealing the ball. They're very active in getting into passing lanes. And look, and that's why I really like this kid, because he is a 3-and-D guy. He's a guy who's very active in the defensive end, but yet with his three-point shot, with his mid-range shot, with his efficiency, and with his ability to pass and get other people involved, he's definitely a two-way player, in my opinion. And so if we decide to trade back into the lottery, Reed Sheppard is definitely somebody that I'm definitely going to consider, man. And it's really between him and obviously we talked about Rob Dillingham, but Rob Dillingham and Reed Sheppard are both two guys that if we decide to package a player like maybe, Kyle Kuzma in the 26th pick and move back into the lottery, Reed Sheppard or Rob Dillingham are definitely two guys that I like, man. And like I said, I've already talked about Rob Dillingham, but Reed Sheppard, man, his ability to score and definitely contribute on the offensive side, but yet on the defensive side, very active hands and very active in the passing lanes. I love his capabilities and his potential as a two-way player. So Reed Sheppard, man, I'm trying to tell you, can play some ball. Now, again, what are his cons? Well, self-creation. Well, I'm walking back real quick. I said his passing, but not so much creating for others, because his con, looking at his scouting report, is actually creating for himself and others. So while his passing is really, really good. I can definitely still need work, but he's a really good passer. But creating for himself and creating for others. So I'm gonna walk back the comment about creating for others. That's actually con. He definitely needs to work on creating for himself and getting other people involved. But like I said, and it's weird because the scouting report says he's good at passing, but he's bad at creating for others. So it's kind of I don't know, hypocritical. But I think that his passing prowess, and I think he's going to definitely work on the ability and get better at getting other people involved, because he's definitely a two-way player. You know what I mean? So I love what I see from Reed Sheppard, man. Yes, I'm kind of biased because I'm a Kentucky guy, but the kid can play, can outright shoot. And if you add him to, Corey Kispert on our second unit, I guess real quick before we move on, matter of fact, we're going to get into a commercial break, but we're going to get into where do all these guys fit with the Washington Wizards, and what kind of roster moves will we need to make for them to fit on this roster going forward. So, we already did the second commercial. All right, so here we go. So where would they fit? So we're gonna go back. I'm gonna start with Reed Sheppard. Where would Reed Sheppard really fit, everybody? Well, he could play two guard, or he could play. I mean, I really wouldn't put him at point guard, to be honest with you, because he's more of the mold of a combo guard. I mean, his size 6'3", 187. I see him more of a two guard. Now, could it be kind of like Rob Dillingham? Could he be a kind of a six man? Yeah, I could see that. Could he start the two guard like Rob Dillingham? Well, again, it really depends on roster construction, because, and it really depends on who's the point guard, because in the backcourt, you need one guy to play defense. If you look at the backcourt we had with Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, it wasn't a very good backcourt. Reason for that is they were both undersized and they couldn't defend. You need to have somebody who can defend. So the fact that Reed Sheppard can be very active on the defensive side of the ball, I can see him potentially being a two guard in Washington with Jordan Poole, in my opinion. I can definitely see that, because we need a guy who can play defense in that backcourt. And while Jordan Poole is definitely working on his defense, he's more of an offensively oriented player. So you definitely need the two guards who's going to be able to defend. And I think that if you intend on making him a future starter in a backcourt with Jordan Poole, or with a similar point guard, whether it's a Rob Dillingham or whether, whatever course we take at point guard, if you have a point guard who will score first, who pushes the pace, you definitely need a guy who can, one, shoot and move in transition, but two, who can defend. And I think that Reed Sheppard really fills that role. So taking a look at the last two guys, how do they fit? Because obviously Ron Holland is a wing and Dalton Knecht is a wing. Well, like I said, if we trade back in at that point, you're grabbing best player available, in my opinion. And I think they both can fit long term, because there's a lot of questions there whether the long. I mean, obviously Denny was signed long term. Right now, Corey Kisper's going to an extension, or an expiring contract, so he's definitely up for an extension. And then you have Bilal Coulibaly, who can play the two. So I think one of them can fit, because the fact of the matter is Denny can play the four and Bilal can play the two. So I think that if you want to add a wing with high upside who can definitely be a two-way player, you can do it in this draft. Now, obviously, we have other needs: point guard, center. We already talked about center. So I think that they both can fit. I think that Ron Holland can fit. I think that Dalton Knecht can fit, because both of them, if their size, they can play in this league. Their ability to defend. Now, Dalton is more of a shooter and a creator than Ron Holland is, but I think both of them could fit. So it really, all three candidates, that we talked about today, I think that all three of them, if we decide to trade back into the lottery, can definitely contribute in DC and can contribute right away. Now, Ron Holland, out of the three, I think is the one who's definitely more in need of development, because I think that Dalton Knecht and Reed Sheppard are more polished, definitely considering they're coming from the NCAA ranks, where, again, the G League Ignite, there is talent that comes out of there. But the level of competition, I think, definitely gives players coming out of college the leg up, man, because the level of competition is better, especially guys coming out of the SEC and conferences like that are known for their basketball, man. So I think that Dalton Knecht and Reed Sheppard, I will give them a leg up, that if we decide to trade back into the lottery, I'm going to take a look at both of them, man. And I think that both of them should be options to draft, man, and definitely contribute in DC, man. And not that I don't like Ron Holland, it's just he's going to need to develop. So I definitely can see us getting Ron Holland if we trade back in. But my priority, honestly, is Reed Sheppard and Dalton Knecht. So definitely comment below. Let me know what you guys think, man. Because these are some definite hidden gems, in my opinion. Opinions differ. Definitely comment below. What players do you see could be hidden gems in the NBA draft? Because there was some other players I looked at, like Cody Williams, which looking at Cody Williams, and obviously I'm going to dig deeper into Cody Williams next week. Definitely on Sunday, I'm going to cover Cody Williams. With him, it's the shot. But there's a lot to like about Cody Williams. So we're going to dig into him and whether he could be a hidden gem on Sunday. So definitely rock with me. So we're going to go ahead and roll everybody. Again, tomorrow night, we're going to do the live video Q&A. So definitely rock with me tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. But again, I definitely appreciate you guys, man. Comment below. Let me know what you guys think of Reed Sheppard, Ron Holland, and Dalton Knecht out of the University of Tennessee. Definitely let me know what you guys think and whether they can fit here in DC. So everybody have a good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. Peace.